Hey, what is up, everybody? I'm here to give you my Walking Dead review for, well, actually, today's date, well, it was Season 4, Episode 6, and it's called Live Bait. And it came out on November 17th, 2013, so it was actually a year ago yesterday. Um, kind of would have been really weird if I was reviewing it yesterday, but it's not the case. Um, and This one was more of a flashback episode. It focused more on Philip, the governor, what he's been doing, um, and I was fine with that. I think I even said before too that I hope that they do focus on him and focus on what he's been doing since that battle that him and Rick's group had, and I was glad they're doing that. And I enjoyed this. Um, and we find out what he's been doing. So it starts off. It cuts to the part after he's killed pretty much all the Woodbury citizens except for Martinez and that black guy. We never found out that guy's name. I don't think we ever will. Um, and then it shows him sitting out by a fire, and a walker comes up. Well, he likes to call them biters. Um, They have like advanced names for these zombies. I don't know why they can't just call them zombies, but they do. I guess I'm fine with them calling them walkers. Um, you know, it's fine. Maybe that's just something that they don't want to call them. Maybe they want to call them a different name. Um, but anyhow, the walker walks into the fire. It's not meant to be a cheesing line. It actually happened. Um, and Philip just watches it suffer. And eventually Martinez shoots it, and I thought that was good. Eventually the next day, I think this is the next day, he wakes up. I think he's just by himself too. Something happened with Martinez and the other guy, because he was all alone, and he was sleeping in a small tent. I mean, it was a tiny tent that he was sleeping in. I guess they weren't prepared for that. Um, but he gets up the next day, and it plays this song. Let me see if I can find the name of this song. Uh, yeah, I can't. I don't know what the name of the song is. Um, but he finds a song. But they play this song. And it shows that him driving a truck right into Woodbury and burning Woodbury to the ground. So I guess pretty much that's suggesting that Carol can't go to Woodbury now because there is no Woodbury. I wonder if she tried that though. Um, and he is kind of telling the story, saying he's been on the road for a couple months, and he was alone, and he's telling this story to somebody else, and he pretty much makes up a big lie about it, saying how he was in this town that was overthrown by this leader, and he lost his mind, so he took off, and it shows him arriving at the bone. It shows him on the road, and one of the walkers tries to get him, but it falls, and he ducks it and it falls, so it didn't get him. And then he sees this girl that reminds him of his daughter Penny. Um, if you don't remember, Penny was a walker that was killed by Michonne. And he sees this girl though, and he goes inside and knocks on the door, and we see these two people answer it, and they're pointing guns at him, and he drops his weapons though. He pretty much lets it drop, and it cuts to the theme song right afterwards. So we're gonna meet these new people. I think they're pretty decent characters, so in my opinion, but we'll see what happens. So he meets these people. They are the Chamberlain family, the Chamberlain family, yeah. Um, and one's named Lily, and she has a daughter named Megan, and the other one, and her sister Tara, who is a cop. Well, that's not exactly. And their father, David, is on oxygen, and it doesn't look good for him. Um, and he's telling the story about what he's been doing. Um, and he just makes up a bunch of lies. He even lies at what his name is. I think he says his name is Brian something. I don't. Oh, and by the way, they said that they were waiting too. That they were waiting at this apartment building for the National Guard to show up. But what they say his name is Brian. But what was his? I don't remember. Yeah. Uh, Brian Herritt. And I thought that was and I guess that name was painted on the bone that was on when he was walking there. But that's his name, and he says he's planning on staying the night. Then he's gonna leave in the morning. So then Lily brings him some food, which he takes, and he dumps it out the window. Um, I was first wondering why, but we found out he actually was eating food. So he's already squandering up some lies. And we see David having fun with Megan. Megan really makes her happy. And we find out Megan hasn't been eating much of her food because she's scared about what's going on. And then they and Taylor too, by the way, has a bunch of guns since she was in the police and isn't afraid to use them. And she seems like she doesn't trust Philip or Brian because I guess she just doesn't. I guess she has trust issues because she kind of acts like a bitch to him. And they have to help David get up because he's handicapped. And I think they were gonna do like that walk thing where you hold the person while he walks, but Philip just picks him up and puts him in bed. And Philip and David asks Philip if he has any kids, he has a family or anything, and he even lies about that, saying that he doesn't. But then he talks about, oh, you're gonna become a real man once you get a kid, and you'll understand. And he says that he's upset that his Megan hasn't been talking, so he sends him up there to get something. I think it was a makeup kit, and he gets it, and he feeds the walker in the bathtub, which he stabs, and he takes the walker's gun, and he gives it to him, and he thanks him for it. And yeah, so he's starting to do a lot for this family, and then he goes to bed, and we find out he has a picture. I think this was the picture that was always in Woodbury of his family, his wife and Penny. And then he falls asleep, and the next morning he wakes he wakes up, and I think Lily saw the picture, and he starts putting it away. I guess he doesn't want him to know that he had a family before. And what else happens? He's gonna leave. He's about to leave. They even go to give him his gun back, but he said, "You keep this one. I got this one." And they give him some food for the road and stuff. But then they send him on another task. He said, "I know you've done a lot for us, but we need your help." We find out that David only has a couple 2 days left of oxygen, and they want him to go out to get more oxygen, and this would because David really makes Megan happy, and he does so. He goes to get it. He goes to the hospital and gets some oxygen tanks, and we see some walkers. One of them was on a wheelchair, which was pretty funny, and he gets the oxygen tanks, and a bunch of walkers find him, and he wheels them and he rolls them into them, and he only takes one, and then he gets it and he gives it to her. And I forgot to mention too that now Philip has a beard now, and he doesn't, and he has a ton of hair now. Like, he's really different, probably because he hasn't been in the world in a while. You know, he's been out on the road. He hasn't been in a house or anything in a while, so that's probably why. And then we find out Lily used to be a nurse. Well, at least I did. I don't know if anyone else found out. And Philip had gotten beat up, so she's gonna fix him up, and he doesn't need stitches, but she needs to give him like this uh, stuff that's gonna make him stin, and then she needs to go get something that she doesn't have, and she leaves Megan in there, who was afraid of him. And we find out Megan's father had walked out, went to get a couple of beers and something else, and pretty much never came back. And she always hoped that he will come back, and she thought that Philip was her father. And so Megan and Philip are alone, and Megan asks about his eye patch, and what happened to it, why he has an eye patch. And he doesn't really answer at first, but then she says, "Was that a bad question to ask?" And he's like, "No." And he says that he'll tell her how he got it, and you're gonna have to, and if you promise me to keep it a secret. And she agrees, and he doesn't know what pinky promise is. How he doesn't know, I don't know. He had a daughter before that was probably around the same age. Maybe she died before she said it, but they pinky promise. I don't even think he does it right. He doesn't but they pinky promise, and tells her. At first he says he's a pirate, but he says that he pretty much says what the story that Michonne is, but doesn't what Michonne did, but doesn't reveal the whole thing, like how he was trying to protect his daughter Penny and all that stuff. Pretty much what happened, but very vivid details. And then the next day we find out that he finally shaves. He shaves his beard. He cuts his hair, and he's teaching Megan how to play chess, which is an odd. I would think you would want to teach something more simpler to the kids, but I guess not. And he's telling him what all this stuff does. I never played chess before, so I couldn't really tell you. But he points out the kin, and that's the one you want to capture. And then she draws an eye patch on the kin, and then she says, "Now it looks like you." And then I think this was just to keep her distracted, though, because we see in the other room David's kind of struggling, and he's not doing very well. And we find out he dies, and he didn't make it through, and everybody's really upset, and Tara's having like a sad moment with her dad, and then he turns into the walker, and he's about to bite him, and Philip puts him down. He kills him, and then they bury him afterwards. And everyone's kind of mad at him right now that they did that. And Philip and Tara forgives him because she knows that David would have wanted him to stop him because from attacking me and hurting me, and she forgives him, and I was fine with that. But Megan, on the other hand, is very scared by Philip, and it's very understandable why, because she's a little kid, so she doesn't really understand what's going on. She probably doesn't really know about all this stuff, and probably I would have been the same thing. You killed it was her grandfather, it was someone that she loved, so that makes sense. But really, we know that wasn't. It was to keep it. I mean, if he didn't do that, Tara would have turned into a walker. So then afterwards, Philip's about to leave, and Lily won't let him leave, saying Lily's like, "You're in our family now, and we want you to find us a safer place. Since you're in the family, you can't be out of it," which I thought was kind of strange. So they take the moving truck that they had in the parking in the driveway, and they drive off with it. And Tara said that we find out Tara was lying. She's not a cop, but she was in like the army or something. I forget what she said. And Philip doesn't admit anything. He says we're gonna make it there. And then they have the fire, and Megan won't even go out near the fire near Philip, obviously, because of what happened. So Megan's still scared of Philip. And then in the truck, Lily and Philip have sex. We don't actually see it, but they start kissing, which I knew was gonna happen because they acted like they weren't going to. And they do, though. It doesn't actually show it, but I'm assuming they did. And then the next day, the truck doesn't work. Um, and So they have to walk. And they run into a bunch of walkers. And then they have to drop all their stuff. And Tara had tripped, so she got an injury. Um, and Megan wouldn't move, though. She was just, I guess, in shock still. I don't know why, but she wasn't moving. And Philip calls her over in her arms to protect her, and she does so. And then they start running away. And then Philip and Megan fall into a hole with some walkers that he kills, which Philip kills. And he hugs her and says that he'll always protect you, won't let anything happen to her. And then he says he crosses his heart, and then he meets Martinez again, who looked very shocked to see him. And that's how the episode ended. So that was it. Good episode. I like this. It was a good start to see what the governor's been up to, and I liked it. It feels like that he's kind of changing. Something tells me though that he's still gonna do something villainous, like he's gonna probably kill this family, because we know at the end of the last episode he was outside the prison, and we just still don't know though if he's done what he's done yet. We don't even know, but I like this. We still don't know though what he's been doing how he got to the prison in the first place. We're still not that sure ahead, and we got to see Martinez again. I wonder if we're gonna find out why they disappeared from each other. And maybe this family is gonna be pissed at him because he's been lying about who he is. He said his name was Brian, and they're gonna find out what he truly was. And I'm liking it. It feels like though that he's gonna wanna protect Megan like it is his daughter. Megan reminds him of his daughter because earlier in the episode too, he had burned the family picture. Because I think that he wanted to move on from his family, he wanted to get on with his life. So that was symbolic of that. And I liked it. And I'm going to watch the next one now and review that. And I'll be back to give you the next review. So that's pretty much it, guys. I'll be back to give you the review in about 20 minutes.